Hey everyone. I've decided to make this video because I got my first big commission sent to me. I've done custom work before. I've done some commissions, I guess, in the past. It's not a new thing, but I feel like this is my first big one since I've been official as a business. I had someone who's knew me from the past, a friend, saw my work and decided to send me a couple of things that she would like incorporated into a pendant for her friend's birthday that's coming up. So she sent me this old coin. So first of all, the woman is okay. These are the two things. When I open this, it's like it looks like a voodoo packet, something. It's not. It's some horsehair and a quarter. And from what I gathered, the woman got this quarter the same day she got this horse. The horse is probably very dear to her. So my task is to incorporate this quarter and this horsehair into a copper wire woven pendant, and that I'm going to put also on a Viking knit chain. So first of all, I'm going to just take you through the beginning of this process to the end as much as I can. I just did kind of want to explain because a lot of artists out there, when you get your first commission or even your 100th commission, there's a bit of fear that boils up in you, and you start to kind of procrastinate and drag your feet, and you start to worry like, oh, what if I do something they don't like it, and there's just a lot of things that bubble up. So my goal, I don't know what my goal is, just to take you through this process and let you know that those are feelings that do come up, and they're always going to be there. You just work past them, and so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to get started today with just some thoughts on how I'm going to design this. I'm very excited. I think this is going to be so cool. What fun elements to try to incorporate and play with. So first thing I did this yesterday, and I didn't record it, so I'm going to tell you about it today. But this coin is it's just a quarter. It's 2004 Texas quarter, but it's patinaed, and I know that they probably want to keep the vintage oldness look to it, so I don't want to go in and just completely shine it up. So what I did is I took one of my pro polishing pads that has a little abrasiveness to it, and I just lightly kind of dusted over it to hit the highlights. And what that's done now, so like this is the back side, so you can compare. You can hardly see, let's see, the head on the quarter, so you can't make out a lot of detail. So if it's on a pendant, it's just going to look very flat. So on the back side, I've already polished it a bit, but you can see how just that polishing has brought out the detail. You can see the star, the Texas star, and the outline and stuff. So that's really all I'm going to do with it. I know they want to keep the color of the coin, and I think that'll pair well with the copper, but I do want to kind of bring out some of the highlights. So I guess I'll flip the camera around and kind of show you what I get done today. Here we go. So the first thing that I will do is sit down and just start designing something. So I may pull out a piece of paper, graph paper, and just start to put some lines and shapes down. At this stage, there's really no rules. We're not going for how everything is going to work yet. We're just going for a shape in general that I feel is going to do the piece justice. So again, at this stage, I'm not set on the design that comes out. Like, I have the freedom here to cast it aside or go with it. The point here is just to create, just to get something down on paper, because as you start creating or drawing, more ideas start to come to you. So it's just that stage of unleashing the designs you have in your head. As you can see here, I had a little coiled coil laying around, and I had a bead as well. And sometimes I'll just grab different elements that maybe I want to incorporate, and I'll put them down next to the pendant and just see if I can start to visualize what the piece would look like um, with those actual design elements in them. You might notice that there's just periods where I'm retracing lines or I'm touching the piece, with my fingers, not really seeming to do anything, but I think it's kind of part of my process as I'm thinking about things. My brain's going all over the place, and so my hands are kind of fidgeting along as well. You'll see here that I moved the coin over because as I was making the first design, I got an idea for a second one. So again, we're not holding on to any one design. We're just playing around here. So I thought it was worth exploring this other design that I had coming to me. So I'm just in the design phase right now, and I originally had drawn this one, which I thought would be very nice, very heady looking bale, and would allow me to incorporate a lot of different elements and different weaving patterns. And then I got to thinking, this is, very, maybe take on more of a Southwestern vibe with this design, considering the elements. So these I believe what they're called is naha. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a type of amulet and design that you see a lot in Southwestern jewelry, but it expands through a lot of history back to Romans and the Navajo. And so I'm not sure of the meaning of everything, but it definitely looks like an upside down horseshoe, this very crescent shape. So I'm actually kind of leaning more towards this one now. And I've got some other it's not real turquoise because I don't have any real turquoise. I wish I did for this design. But I've just got some turquoise beads laying around, so I can incorporate this into the design if I choose. So I might play with that. So I have settled on this design. I think this is lovely, but I'll save that for something else. So now the trick is going in and figuring out how I'm going to work the wires to get this shape. And it's going to take some thinking. So what I do now basically is I'm going and now I'm looking at the shape in terms of wires. So I'm going to go in and draw both sides of the wire and maybe how I'm going to attach certain things so that it actually works out. And now I'm going through and I'm thinking about how the framing of it should be. So how is the coin actually going to be held in place so that I can work and decorate around it. So I'm thinking about doing something I've never really done before, but making sort of I don't even know the words for it, but like on a ring, the clasps that come around and hold the diamond in place, and then I can run it up the back side. And I'm trying to decide whether the frame around this on the back should come up with multiple wires, and that will create my bail that I'll fold over the top, and then I'd have all these extra wires to run down and play with. And there's a whole lot of this going on all the time. Sitting and thinking and staring and staring and thinking some more, and then probably staring a little bit longer. So some point in the design process, which is precisely where I'm at right now, I just have to go for it and start playing with the wire because there's only so much that I can figure out until I start actually handling it and moving with it. So this is the trial and error part. I think when you're making a new piece, like right now, I'm very excited about starting this. It's so cool, and I think that that's what sometimes prevents us from wanting to sit down and work on a piece or a commission, because we don't have it like in our heads what it's going to be yet. It's not until we actually sit down and start creating and start putting something into action that something starts to manifest. And when it does start to manifest, then you get excited about it. Then your creativity opens up, because you've already crossed one obstacle, and that was just getting started. And now it doesn't matter what obstacles come up, you're going to overcome them because you're so excited about it. So I think this is going to be so cool. I just got to figure out how to do it. So, like I said, this is the part where I just get out the wire and start making something happen. I don't always know how much wire to use. I guess that's where my just experience comes into play, because I don't have exact measurements or anything. My motto a lot of times is just guess and go. So I guess I've just become a very good at eyeballing measurements. So here what I'm going to do is actually use my drawing to sort of trace around with the wire. So I'm going back in and making sure that I can get everything very symmetrical and even, so that it turns out that way with the wire. So now I'm using some pliers to hold the wire in place over the design, and to start to shape the thicker wire that will act as kind of the framework here for the pendant. And there we have it. I've also gone in here and hammered it down so it's got some texture around it, and then secured the beads that I wanted to also include. Another design element that the customer was hoping that I could incorporate was a specific date. And so what I've done, I've never attempted this before, but I've taken 14 gauge round wire and I've completely flattened it as much as I could. And I'm going to see, I've got two options I'm going to play with. I've got some stamps with numbers, but these numbers are sort of large. And then I also have a Dremel, so I may try to engrave something onto the copper. So that's going to be my next thing, is figuring out if I can do either one of those and if they'll turn out looking okay. Well, that was interesting. It worked, but I think I'm going to have to do it again, just get a little bit better at my technique, because it's not showing up so well, but that is actually the look that I'm going for, and I was hoping to kind of incorporate it on the underside of the coin here. So I think it'll work. I just need to practice it a little bit and refine it a bit. Well, success. So I ended up getting it stamped. What I did first was, I curved it so that I knew that it would fit, because once I flattened it, I found I couldn't get the thing to actually curve after that. So I curved the wire first, and then I just tried my best to go in and flatten it out as much as possible. Was able to get it a little bit bigger and actually get those stamps on it. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Worked out. And this is the back setting that I came up with to help hold the coin in place and attach it to the piece. All right, well, so far things are moving along really well. I'm happy it's like just how I imagined it in my head, and it's coming along. All right, I ran into a little bit of an issue here. So I went back to my original plan to create prongs around the coin because originally I had created this back piece to hold it in and to anchor it to the rest of the piece. But the thing is, normally, so the back would be secure, but the front portion, I would normally be wrapping wires over, like, let's say if it was a gemstone, I'd be wrapping wires over the top and holding it in place. But with this coin, I want most of it to be visible, so I don't want to end up wrapping things. So I just created this little prong thing, and I'm gonna just wrap it into there, and then it'll be nice and secure, and I don't have to put wires over the cross of it, over the top of it. Hey, welcome back. We are on day 2 of the project. It is coming along nicely. I'm hoping to finish this up maybe in the next couple hours. Here's what we have so far. So that's sitting in there really nice. I'm really happy with how that turned out. You can still see the dates. Well, this is what happens when you start working. The workspace just goes. This is the horsehair that was sent, so I'm trying to figure out what to do. I thought it would be so cool to weave this in, but it's proving kind of difficult to work with, so I am kind of playing with just doing some wraps like this, and then maybe going in and putting them in that way. Yeah, so most of this, it takes so long because you're playing. You're doing a lot of trial and error. So there's hours and hours of just kind of trying to figure things out. But it's a lot of fun. So I think I've come to a stopping point with the piece. This is what we ended up with. I think it's pretty cool. I figured out how to incorporate the horsehair in there, so I wrapped it around some wire and wove it in, put it on this Viking net that I have to finish the end pieces. But the next part is I'm gonna patina the piece, so I have to put it into this chemical solution, and I'm really worried about the horsehair. So I'm gonna go ahead and patina it, and I'm gonna dump a bunch of baking soda on it and rinse it off really well, so hopefully that patina, that liver of sulfur, doesn't continue to sit in the horsehair and disintegrate it. And then I've got to go around the back and file some stuff down so that it's nice and smooth, and bring you back after we've done the patina. Ooh-wee, doesn't this always look like I destroyed it? But there is a beautiful piece underneath all of that black patina. We are going to start polishing it off. We're making progress. It's slow coming, but I think it's looking so cool. The hard part with this piece is, yes, there's a lot of delicate pieces, but there's also a lot of layers, so it's really hard to get down in there and get certain pieces. So I'm going to use the Dremel here in a little bit and try to get in there. So this is how the piece ended up turning out. I was very happy with it, and evidently the woman it was going to was also very, very happy with it as well. I want to thank you guys for watching and following along, so you can kind of see what my process was on this custom order. Here's a few photos that I had taken after it was done, before I sent it off, and really happy with how it turned out, and thanks again for watching.